Hey guys, it's not. The patch notes were just released, and I went over them. Kind of wanted to be the first to look through it and give you guys something. Yeah, I've already taken a look through it once, and I already have some pretty staunch opinions on it. But I'm gonna go through it here and talk. So they wanted to change relics in a way, so now they have new unique T3 upgrades. So this is the result. So Aegis is still the same thing, just decrease cooldown. Still the same thing, decrease cooldown. Using this item makes you invulnerable to damage, healing you for 1.5 seconds. Prevents you from taking any action. And healing for 1.5 seconds. Wow. Prevents you from taking any actions. You may still move. Each inches of damage prevented provides 7% of movement speed for 4 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. This won't be bad. However, I don't know how good it's going to be. It's interesting. People are going to experiment with it. But also, if you're Aegising, you're gaining movement speed afterwards, I'm not sure if you'll just be dead most of the time. We'll see, though. We'll see. Aegis of Judgment. Using this item makes you invulnerable to damage and healing and prevents you from taking any actions. You may still move. At the end of the duration, you explode, dealing 100 plus 50% of the prevented damage as magical damage in a 30-unit radius. This damage is dealt by the damage dealt by this effect is capped at 50% of your maximum health. Now, something funny you probably will be able to do with this is, as a tank or as like somebody like Jormungandr who can go into Aegis, just walk up on somebody, and if they do all this damage to you and you're on top of them, you'll just explode on a carry, which would be quite funny. Anyway, Belt of Frenzy. They buffed the baseline of it, which is interesting. I mean, they did give it a bit of a nerf, but they buffed the baseline of it, which is an interesting change. But Greater Belt of Frenzy. Damage increased, penetration buff was removed, duration decreased, cooldown decreased. So again, it's just an upgrade. It's the T2 of it. The Belt of the Berserker. Using this item grants all ally gods within 70 units 30% increased damage dealt to all targets, including objectives, and 50% attack speed increase. Decaying every 0.5 seconds for 6 seconds. That's okay, but Belt of Insatiable Hunger has the potential to go nuts. Using this item grants all allied gods within 70 units 15% increased damage dealt to all targets, including objectives, and 25% attack speed increase for 10 seconds. If you earn a kill or assist on an enemy god while this buff is active, the duration refreshes. It can only occur once per use. That can potentially go crazy, because you would have 20 seconds of this buff. Potentially. Which is ridiculous. Absolutely insane. Granted, this one's better for shredding objectives. We don't know how it decays, but it's better for shredding objectives. But Belt of Insatiable Hunger is good for objectives and team fights. And honestly, it's probably better just to build over Belt of the Berserker. Blink Rune, no changes. Greater Blink Rune. I find this funny, because it's just kind of like, fuck you, you spent money to upgrade it. You get nothing. Anyway, Corrupted Blink Rune. Using this item allows you to teleport 25 units away instantly. This item cannot be used if you've taken damage. So it's Blink, but it has a slow attached to it, with a movement speed and attack speed slow, within a 25-unit radius for 2.5 seconds. This is probably going to be good for engaged tanks, like ones that want to blink in and then immediately CC somebody, and then have their attack speed slow for a little bit, or just blink in and be more useful for someone like, let's say, Tyr or Kali, or somebody who wants to fight when they blink on you. If you beads the initial CC, you're still going to have the attack speed slow on you and make it much easier to fight. Scorching Blink Rune. Using this item will allow you to teleport 45 units away instantly, leaving behind a trail of wildfire that deals 20 true damage plus 4 true damage per level. The enemies that pass through it every 0.5 for 4 seconds. This item cannot be used if you've taken... Okay, same thing. But the interesting part about this is that I really don't think this matters. To be quite frank with you, if I see that line, I'm not walking over it. And you're not using that line to like block a corridor most of the time. Using blink to get in. Now, does the trail, we don't know if the trail comes from the person and after they blink they are walking, or if it's from the blink location to where they blinked from. I'm not sure which. Because if it follows you and leaves the trail, that is much better. But if it's just from the blink location to where you blinked from, it's not going to be very good. So we'll have to see with that. I believe PTS is coming up tonight, so hopefully we'll be able to get to play with the new items and on the new Conquest map. Bracer of Radiance, power buff increase, and cooldown increased. I mean, Bracer's still going to be Bracer. It's going to be good, but there's probably going to be better things. Bracer of Radiance no longer functions as a sentry ward. This is the same thing they did with Blink. It's you don't gain anything from upgrading this until you get to here. This one is more similar to the ones we have now, except for it gives movement speed, and it acts as a sentry ward. It does that right now, but the movement speed is something new. It seems decently strong, but there are some other relics that might just be better from what I've read before, so we'll have to see. Burst of Illumination. You place on the ground for the location for 90 seconds. They get increased power, and if above half health, if above half health or 15% movement speed if below half health. This is a more versatile version of this, but at the same time, why wouldn't you just go this? Other than the fact that this little light sprite is walking around, this Bracer of Brilliance serves the very similar purpose. And does both effects. I don't know. I just think it's not going to be as good. Meditation Cloak, name change, increase base health, restore, cooldown increase, increase missing health scaling. Okay. I mean, that's not too much of a change. It is a bit more healing, with a bit longer of a cooldown. But Greater Meditation Cloak, remove cooldown reduction, increase the base health. It's very similar to what they did here, except for with a shorter cooldown. Cloak of the Ascetic? Don't know how to say that, but using this item, you enter a meditative state where your nearby ally gods within 35 units restore 40 plus 7% of their missing health and mana each tick. Because this is their missing health and mana, it is obviously going to be weaker on carries, but much better on tanks. Heals occur once every second for 4 seconds. Each pulp reduces cooldowns for abilities by 1.5 seconds. I mean, this is basically what you have currently, just a bit different. Cloak of the Avatar is different now, though. Using this item causes you to enter a meditative state where nearby allied gods with 35 units restore 12 plus 6% of their missing health and mana each tick. Heals occur once every second for 4 seconds. You also gain a protective barrier of wind that explodes if an enemy comes within 15 units, knocking them back. This is powerful. In fact, you might see some carries potentially picking this up. I'm not sure, though, because you are going to lose out on Aegis. Because you're going beads. You're not going beads. You're going beads. So you would lose out on Aegis. But we'll have to see how good it is comparatively, or how bad Aegis is, I would say, comparatively to Cloak of the Avatar. This could be a sleeper thing for carries to pick up. Not sure, though. Obviously, this is all basically first impression, but yeah. First Onk shield damage increased to 75%, and increased damage taken when healing to 10%. Okay. So now this has the debuff and increased damage taken, regardless of what rank it is, making this really strong for a base relic. A Greater Cursed Ankh. Same changes. This is a nerf. And then decreased cooldown. Because how you're looking at relics right now is this greater one is what the T2 relic is. And then these T3 are much better. Using this item reduces the healing received by all enemy gods in 55 units by 60% and removes 75% of currently applied shields. Enemies that are healed by god abilities while this effect is active take a curse by this curse, take 20% more damage from all sources for the duration of the curse. All healing reduced by this effect is instead distributed to your allies within 40 units radius around you. That is very strong. That has the potential to be ridiculous. But again, we'll have to see how strong healing is. Drowned Ankh. Using this item, healing by enemy gods down by 40% for 10 seconds. Removes 75% of any currently applied shield. Enemies that are healed while god abilities are healed by god abilities while by this curse causes a pool of miasma to form beneath that persists for 6 seconds. The miasma deals 2% of the enemy's current health every 0.5 seconds while the enemies are inside of it. This refreshes the Ankh debuff effect. So I think this places it down, and it's like a Camazotz puddle you have to walk out of. I think that's what it is. Heavenly Wings, cooldown increase. Okay. Cooldown decreased. And remove the haste effect. Entangling Wings, excuse me. Using this item increases the movement speed of allied gods within 55 units by 20% for 5 seconds, making you immune to slows. On use, this relic also roots enemies around you. I'm assuming into the 55 unit range. Didn't specify that, but 55 unit range for 1 second. I mean, this is pretty decent, but this is kind of what I think the secondary slot is going to be for ADCs most of the time. Because this is pretty strong. Using this item increases movement speed of allied gods within 55% within 55 units by, oh my god, 55%, imagine that? Within 55 units by 20% for 4 seconds. Makes them immune to slows and grants haste, causing them to be immune to basic attack movement penalty for the duration. Successful basic attacks increase the duration by 1 second, up to an additional 4 seconds. This is potentially insane. Because you're giving hunters hastened fatalis again, basically, on a relic. We'll have to see, because I think hunters might be going beads, hastened wings. Because of how powerful Horrific's going to be, hastened wings might just be the go-to. You get beads first and you get heavenly wings second. Alright, Horrific Emblem. Increase the attack speed debuff, which is very strong for a level 1 relic. Added a 15% decreased damage dealt debuff, which is ridiculous. And then increased cooldown from 110 to 130. No changes. You get nothing from upgrading this, but using this item, the third rank, of increasing peril. Using the item slows movement speed of all enemy gods within 35 units by 30% for 5 seconds. Their attack speed is also reduced by 25% for the duration. Additionally, damage dealt is reduced by 15%. If any enemy deals 10% of an ally god's maximum health in this time, the debuff effects are increased by 10% each time, stacking up to 3 times. That is bonkers. That is absolutely bonkers. That can completely shut down solo lane dive. Or it can completely shut down the damage of a carry if they are hitting you. This is, I don't know, it might be the best item of Season 9. Like, of the upcoming Season 9 patch. It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Emblem of Trembling Terror. Using this item slows the movement speed of enemy gods within 35 units by 30% for 5 seconds. Their attack speed is also reduced for 25% for the duration. Additionally, their damage delta is reduced by 15%. If an enemy stealing 30% of maximum health during the duration, they are trembled for 1.5 seconds. There is 0 reason to go this. When Emblem of Increasing Peril is as good as it is, there's no reason to go Trembling Terror. 0. 0 reason. This item is just completely outclassed by its counterpart. Anyway. Shell. Increased damage reduction for basic attacks, 20% to 25%. That's a pretty good change for early on, but we'll have to see how that goes in terms of who uses it and if it's going to outclass other things. Greater Shell, reduce cooldown. Fortifying Shell. Using this item, it applies a shield to themselves and allies within 35 units for 100 health plus 12 health per god level for 3 seconds. Additionally, all allies take 50% reduced damage from basic attacks for the duration. When the shield is broken or expires, allies gain a new buff providing 20% damage mitigations, 20% movement speed for 3 seconds. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. I figured Titanforge would learn from Tiamat that giving mitigations to carries for what is essentially a relic slot, or for free inherently in their kits, Tiamat, is ridiculous. Fortifying Shell is absolutely nuts. You slap this on a peel support when they're diving your carries, this is insane. Phantom Shell. This is Phantom plus Shell, really. Instead of this insane buff, it's this one. You buy this when you're against walls, basically. Anyway. I don't know. This Fortifying Shell's nuts. Purification beads increase cooldown. Cooldown increased. And then using this item removes crowd control effects and makes you immune to new ones for 2 seconds. Any CC effect that is cleansed during this time, including on activation, sends out a homing projectile to an enemy who applied it, dealing 7% of their maximum health. Chaotic beads is pretty strong, I think. But temporal beads is also really good in that using this item, crowd control effects makes you immune, blah, 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 to new ones for 2 seconds. Reduces active cooldowns by 3 seconds. This is old Grade of Purification. Reducing cooldowns by 3 seconds. You might actually see some like beads plays again, where they would beads to get the cooldown. They can get a kill, which is actually pretty cool. I like that. But chaotic beads is pretty strong. I'm not sure if I think ADCs might get chaotic beads, depending on which one it is, and then mids might get temporal beads. Not sure. Obviously, all of this is still, I'm not entirely sure, but we'll see how it goes. Shield of Thorns. I actually skipped this before because I just was reading a bunch of numbers and I was just like, ugh. Alright. Decrease reflect damage from 30% of all damage taken by 25% of all damage taken. Okay. So damage reflect is 25% now. And minus 25% lifesteal debuff for enemies attacking you. Note, the wording of lifesteal blocking instead was changed from can only lifesteal 25% of their lifesteal to can only steal 75% of their lifesteal. That is a better indication and makes it more clear. Cooldown increased. Decreased reflect damage. These are just kind of nerfs. To the second level of Thorns, just so that people aren't just picking up Thorns and standing in front of people the entire game, you know? Making it harder for carries to play the game. Using this item, okay, Thorns of Overgrowth. Using this item reflects 25% of all damage you take before mitigations for the next 5 seconds. Back to its owner as magical damage. If you are dealt 120 times your level damage while this effect is active, the effect will end early. While this is active, enemies can only lifesteal from you 50% their total lifesteal. You get an additional 5% movement speed and attack speed for each god within 20 units. So basically what happens is you take a certain amount of damage, the shield kind of explodes, and the enemies can only lifesteal from you 50% of their total lifesteal, and then you gain stats for each enemy around you. That's kind of cool. I don't know how good it's going to be, but we'll see. Thorns of Sapping Strength. This item, using this item reflects 35% of all damage you take before mitigations for the next 2 seconds. Back to its owner as magical damage. While this is active, enemies can only lifesteal from you for 75% of their total lifesteal. Each basic attack from an enemy god reduces the cooldown of this item by 0.5 seconds. And this is an 80-second cooldown. This is just Thorns, but shorter, basically. Shorter cooldown. Thundering Spear. Now, I made a point before with Ankh. Why would I not just buy Ankh? I can't miss Ankh. You know? For this effect. I can't miss Ankh. It's only 1 charge now. For these, I think. I'm not sure if it has 2 charges or not, because this one specifies it has 2 charges, but these 2 don't. So, shield damage increased to 75%, cooldown increased. Okay. Current health damage reduced. Increased damage taken debuff, which is pretty good. It's decreased. which is honestly kind of healthier for the relic. I think that's why I said it was good. And the cooldown decreased, which is good for it. But Sundering Blast. Fire a bolt that travels 70 units, stopping the first got hit and splashing in 20 unit radius, dealing 50% of their current health as true damage, and reducing any active shields by 75%. Targets take 5% increased damage for 5 seconds, stacking 2 times. This relic has 2 charges. Now, I don't know if the splash effect applies this as well. Because if the splash effect applies this, this is very strong. But if it doesn't, it's okay. Sundering Siphon. Fire a bolt that travels 50 units, stopping on the first got hit, reducing any active shields by 75% and linking them to you. For the next 4 seconds, they are dealt 5% of their current health as true damage. Every second you receive half that amount as healing. Enemies can break the link if they move past 60 units away from you. The relic has 2 charges. A second hit of the same target will refresh the duration. So basically think of it like Osiris Tether, but bigger. If you break the link, they will stop getting the healing. And they'll stop getting the healing from you. And they'll stop doing the damage. Yeah. Teleport. Literally name change, and nothing changed about teleport frame. And no longer teleport towards. Increased cooldown. Okay. Heroic Teleport. Using this item allows any allied structure or ward to be rooted. Well, you can teleport to them while being rooted in place. Basically, old upgraded teleport right now. And it's the same thing, but instead it grants you 20% movement speed and 40 protection for 10 seconds. I don't know. Let me actually read Persistent Teleport first before I start talking about the two of them. Persistent Teleport. Using this item allows you to teleport to any allied structure. Same thing as teleport, but kills and assists reduces the cooldown by 10 seconds. Basically, what the difference between this is Persistent Teleport. If you can guarantee you're getting kills, you're gaining more benefit from this, in a sense. But I don't know, I feel like Heroic Teleport's just better. It is a longer cooldown, but it's just better. Because it gives you stats upon teleporting for 10 seconds, which is kind of nuts. I don't know. It's just me. Glyph items. Basically, glyphs add a passive to an item. All glyphs cost 600 gold up on top of their usual tier 3. Okay, there's no level restriction, amount restriction on glyph items. Players can get as many as their class allows. Get them as early or late as they choose. Amulet of Silence. This is from Heartward Amulet. Gain a stack each time an enemy within 40 units casts an ability. At 5 stacks, your next basic attack on an enemy god will silence them for 1.5 seconds. I really don't know the use in this. There is some use, because silences are powerful, but I don't know why you wouldn't just go Amulet of the Stronghold. Because if you go Amulet of the Stronghold, 20% of your physical protections are converted to magical protection. You might be able to actually just make this your only magical protection item. If you upgrade it early, make it your only magical protection item, and then just build straight physical D. And then 20% of those physical D are converted into magical prots. Not sure yet. I'm gonna see. And solo laners might even buy this. And do the same thing. We'll see, though. We'll see. Breastplate of Determination. Each time you're hit with an ability, you gain 5 protections that correspond to the damage type you were hit with, up to a max of 4 of each type. Once you reach the max stacks of both kinds, gain a burst of 20% movement speed and double your protections gained by this effect for 8 seconds. So it would be 40 instead of 20 of each, after which all stacks are removed. Okay. Somewhat decent. Breastplate of Vigilance is kind of nuts. When your ultimate ability is finished casting, you provide an aura in a 40-unit range around you, with reducing basic attack damage from enemies by 30% for 5 seconds. I don't know. I find this better than the other one. I could be completely wrong, though. I feel like this has more applicable uses, especially for assassins and soul laners who are diving together. Soul laner uses their ultimate ability, and now the assassin's taking much less damage from the hunter. So yeah. Envenom Deathbringer. Critical strikes on enemy gods afflict them with poison for 2 seconds. Basically, Deathbringer plus Poison Star. This is going to be annoying. Very annoying for people diving. And then this one is Malice plus Deathbringer. I think Envenom Deathbringer is just going to be strictly better because you're hindering your opponent, and this one you're only gaining CDs. Unless you're someone like Uller, you'd rather just have Envenomed. That's my thought, though. Jotun's Ferocity. Your next basic attack marks an enemy god. If you hit the marked enemy or the marked enemy hits you with a basic attack or ability, gain 1 stack. For each stack provides 2% increased damage towards the marked target. Stacking up to 10 times. This effect can only occur every 60 seconds. That's 20% increased damage on a marked enemy. That's going to be really strong for a lot of characters. Especially characters, let's say like Thor, who basic attack between their abilities. You can combo a tank pretty hard with that and get the 20% reduction on them for 10 seconds. Or not 10 seconds. Stacking up to 10 times. It doesn't have a CD for it. Well, the spec can only occur once every 60 seconds, but it doesn't say how long the stacks last. Anyway, Jotun's Vigor. If you drop beneath 40% health and gain 10% movement speed and 40% physical lifesteal for 5 seconds. This effect only occur once every 5 seconds. Okay, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't just go Ferocity instead, though. I feel like it's outclassed. I could be wrong again, but I feel like it's just outclassed by Ferocity. Because Ferocity is just stronger and makes you do more damage. Whereas this one's more for running away. Calamitous Rod of Tahuti. After successfully hitting an enemy god with an ability, calls down a meteor that lands 1.5 seconds, dealing 100 plus 30% of your magical power damage to 15 in a 15-unit radius. This effect can only occur once every 90 seconds. That's okay. I don't know. Nibble Rod of Tahuti is going to be core on Magical Hunter. Every 40 magical power you have, gain 2% attack speed. You can go somebody like Sol or Kronos and just hard stack on magical power, or even Freya. You don't have to go much attack speed, and you'll get an insane amount of attack speed from this. We'll see, though. Because this is going to be used on mages that really don't care about attack speed, like Merlin or Hebo, or... Well, not really Hebo, but... Hebo could use it. Merlin or, like, Raijin, Ra, stuff like that. Crit adjustments. This is a change to the crit system. Basically, instead of being completely random, if you get a normal hit, you'll become more likely to crit. If you get a crit, you'll be more likely to not get a crit. Basically, depending on how much crit chance you have, it now calculates that in terms of, I have 50% crit. This next attack, I crit. The attack after that, I'm going to have less than 50% chance. I'm more likely to not crit. It means crits will be more consistent. Crit streaks will be less consistent. You'll get crits on more basic attacks overall in an averaged out case. But there will be less crit, like 5 autos in a row. Anyway, starter items. Warrior's Axe Nerf. That's a good nerf. Solid nerf. Not sure if it'll bring it out of the meta, but we'll see. Because this is a really hit or miss. We could potentially see a shift from this to Bluestone, because now it's 700 gold, it's much cheaper to get. We'll see. Because 800 gold was a ridiculous price tag for what you get from Bluestone. Fear and Eye of the Jungle. Both have pretty good buffs. You're going to see more junglers going these items. Specifically the attack speed oriented junglers. And you're going to see them going these items. Definitely. Painted Steel. Decreased costs. This might replace Warrior's Axe depending. We'll see though. See. It wouldn't be a new season without solid chunk of item balance. Okay. Basically, nerfs focus towards defensive items, solo lane, and some slight collateral damage with support. And some key mage ADC items as well being toned down because they're very strong right now. Mystical Mail nerf, there's very little reason to buy this now. Unless your character doesn't benefit from Breastplate of Valor, especially because this doesn't have an upgrade, you're probably better off just going Breastplate of Valor regardless. And with Bluestone changes and stuff like that, a lot of Bluestone characters go Breastplate of Valor. So this item might just fall out completely. We'll see, though. Pridwin. Pridwin's going to be less of a must-buy now for solo laners and supports. Granted, it's still going to be very strong, but it's not going to be in every single build you see, I don't think. Bulwark of Hope is still very strong. It's a minimal change. I don't see it falling out of the meta anymore. I see it staying in the same spot, if maybe slightly less valued. Telkine's Ring. This is a good nerf for Telkine's Ring because you were getting so much. This item was expensive, but you were getting so much power and so many stats from this item. A little bit of toning it back will help with Freya, stuff like that. Freya, Soul, all that stuff. Okay. These are buffs to defensive items that have been pretty much overlooked. Voidstone. This is a very good buff. Voidstone is going to be seeing more play on solo guardians like Cthulhu, Jormungandr, some guardian jungles, even some supports maybe like Ares might still be picking it up. We'll see, but this is a very good shift for Voidstone. Emperor's Armor. This poor item, man. I really don't know what I really don't know at what point they're just going to give up on this thing. I mean, cool. It's still an item slot that you're not putting into something else. I don't know. Emperor's Armor still is probably going to be in the same spot it always is. A very, very niche item. And you get confused when you see somebody pick it up. I don't know. Jade and Burst Crown. Increased health. This is a very good buff. Again. This is going to bring this item back into the meta for Guardians. We might see a rise in Guardian solos just because Voidstone and Jade Emperor's Crown, and later on, I believe it's Celestial Legion Helm that gets buffed as well. Blackthorn Hammer. Now builds off the Heavy Hammer tree. This now gives prots instead of CDR, and it's passive. I think they removed its passive. If not, I'm not sure. Much more clearly geared towards being a tanky item, while Runeforged Hammer gets a larger amount of power to help its way into a few players' hands. Okay. I'm assuming the passive is the same, because they don't say they changed the passive. Or they removed it. I could be wrong, and this could just be a stat stick. But this item's still going to be strong. It's still going to be good. If it has the same passive. If it doesn't, then we're going to get into some muggy water. Runeforged, if this item does not have its passive, this item's useless. However, if it does have its passive, you might start seeing this picked up on some assassins and some soul lane warriors that rely on CC that are procced by this. Picking it up again. Because honestly, it's not a bad item. It gives okay stats. Granted, it doesn't give any really good defensive stats. But you'll see it in more niche situations on somebody maybe like Thor, or somebody who's looking to burst you down in one CC combo. Anyway, Pythonian Lion. This is a very good buff. In fact, this might bring this item back into the meta. The increase to 90 from this item alone gives you 90. Which on top of another protection item is already enough to give it one stack you get every 10 seconds. I don't know, though. Breastplate still might be better than it, because it upgrades into other stuff, but Nemean's super strong. I think it's in a really good spot, and it's geared to come back into the meta. Definitely is. We'll have to see. Berserker Shield. Increased physical protection. This is dangerous. This change is dangerous. Berserker Shield is mediocre on most warriors in solo lane. This is very dangerous to potentially bringing back warriors into the jungle, such as Osiris, Erlang Shen, and I'm not sure if they are either aware or concerned about that. Because yes, the assassin items are still very good, but we'll have to see. Keep an eye on Berserker Shield and what it could do for warrior jungles. And I guess more tanky assassin jungles. Just keep an eye on it. I think this item has the potential to kind of reshape the jungle meta if it gets buffed again, maybe. So, Staff of Mirrodin change. I'm torn. Staff of Mirrodin is a fun-ass item. But I don't know if it's gonna be insane still. Like, this item has its place on certain characters like Janice or I don't know. We'll see. Staff of Mirrodin's always a weird item because it's very expensive. Actually, it's not too pricey, but it's expensive, and its power is good now, so it might see a rise. We'll have to see. Definitely have to see. Because I feel like mage builds are super tight right now. We'll have to see if it fits in anywhere. Celestial Legion Helm. This is just a straight up buff on the magical power side, although it does decrease the physical protections. This might help somebody like Jormungandr, who looks to build more damage anyway. But we'll have to see. This makes it geared more towards mages as opposed to guardians, which is nice. I like that. But you might see this on characters like Zeus or Jonqui, but you also could see it if enough defense is found elsewhere in the build on characters like Jormungandr, Cthulhu, Bracken, stuff like that from solo lane. Warlock Staff. Solid change. This item's going to be built a little bit more. Not sure if it will rival Book of Thoth or the current mage builds. We'll see, though. See. There's a potential. It's strong. It's actually worth picking up now, but we'll see. Change the Charon's coin. We're reverting it back because other items are strong. This could potentially put Charon's coin back into the need to buy category. We'll see, though. I'm a little concerned, but we'll see. Obsidian Shard. I think this change straight up just adds it back to the need to buy category. It's 100 gold cheaper, it gives more magical power, and it's just a good item. It gives percent pen and flat pen on the item. It's strong. Very strong. And it's a good item that you probably want to finish out your build with. We'll see, though. Again, a lot of this is still we'll see. It's difficult because a lot of this stuff is we'll have to see. I'm not the best mid laner or hunter in the world. We'll see some good players start to work around and build some builds, and we'll see stuff rising up. Rage increased power. They're kind of centralizing crit, which is interesting. I know they're changing things, but I don't know how much I want to keep crit in the meta. Increased cost of fail. No, this is a huge buff. Huge buff. There's 150 gold less on the top end. This might be core to every hunter build now. Because Deathbringer is going to be there because the stats, the raw stats it gives now. To decrease the cost, I mean, Deathbringer's still Deathbringer, it's going to be expensive. But this is powerful. We might see the rise of crit builds again. Specifically with Fail Not and Deathbringer being at the core of that. We'll see, though. Shadow Steel. A buff. So, I've always hated this item. And a lot of people are building it first now in ranked lobbies to try to cheese. This might actually bring that build into the meta. This change. Because it gives more raw stats and a longer debuff. Plus, you're going to be building 2 crit items anyway. With Fail Not and Deathbringer, I think. I think you're going to be building these items. Not sure, but I'm pretty sure you will be. Anyway, those 2 items are removed from the game. We're giving crit to Atlantis Bow for some reason. Don't know if we're removing the percent pen, I'm assuming. Because this is passive unchanged. If we're removing the percent pen, I'm more okay with it. But, I don't know. Well, I'm not too sure about this. Why are you putting crit into that tree to begin with? Doesn't make sense to me. Increased cost, increased physical penetration. This makes this item a lot more valuable. At the same time, you're going to be going crit builds anyway, I think. Because the other items are just better. Power's Gauntlet. Increased stack count and increased power. It's pretty good. Pretty good change. Might put it back in the meta, not sure though, because people might just go crit and Aussie. And with Shadow Steel being so good, I don't know if this is just going to get completely overshadowed by that Shadow Steel start. We'll see though. Increased max stacks from 2 to 3 on Toxic Blade. Increased max healing reduction to 40% to 60%. That's really good. It's really strong for a lot of characters. Again, I want to keep an eye on Erlang Shen and Osiris. Maybe even Gilgamesh for items like this. Because this is going to be a good change for them because it gives them stats they like and gives them more of an incentive to buy it. Anyway, Hydra's Lament. Increased cost because we added percent bend to it. Good change. And I think it might actually be picked up a bit more. Specifically on characters that have really good auto cancels. Golden Blade. Another good change. I think for the health of the jungle. And characters like Bakasura, Arachne, Kali. Kali doesn't really use it that much. But characters like Arachne and Bakasura have a bit more of an easy time building this because it gives more stats. Yeah. Soul Eater, increased physical power. Decent change. I don't know, this item still might be bad. But Evolve Soul Eater. This is pretty strong. We'll have to see, though. We might see it on assassins like Pele again. Because Pele loves this item. And she stopped building it because the item was just weak. You might see it on Wukong and Pele as like their, little niche item that they can afford to build. Because it's decent now, but I'm not sure if it's going to be a mainstream thing. Bloodforge, just a good buff, really. We'll have to see where it goes, but certain maybe high burst assassins might build it. I don't see hunters building it, though. High power burst assassins will probably look at this and be interested and be experimenting. Let's see, though. Atlas. Now, I'm currently working on a video about Atlas. I think Atlas's design is everything wrong with Smite God design. I will speak on this more when that video comes out. It's going to be a scripted format where I'm going to talk about it, but these are just changes. These are just buffs that make him more in line with actually being able to play the game in Conquest. Decreased size of the passive UI. That's just funny because people were it was just getting into people's ways, I guess. Increased base damage. It's a good change. Increased slow, which is a good change. Putting him more in line again. Knockback immune while firing this ability. Okay. Kinetic charge now hits minions. I don't know why it didn't hit minions in the first place. Actually, I do know why, but that's besides the point. Should have always done that. This ability also should have always had that base slow. But again, we decide we want to shoehorn characters into specific. There's a little sneak peek into that video for you. Anyway, Camazotz, nerfs. I also find it funny that this is a completely different font than the rest of the entire fucking thing. This Bat Out of Hell is completely different font. And for some reason, this is in this font? I don't know. Solid nerf. This is a solid nerf. So his early healing isn't impacted as much, but once you start ranking it up later on, his healing is going to be hit kind of hard. You'll notice the difference. Increased cooldown on Bat Out of Hell. That's necessary, especially with all it gives. Increased base damage. Needed the hit. Not sure if this is enough, but it needed the hit. Camazotz needs the hits because of how strong he is right now. At Worlds, he's going to be first pick, first ban. I guarantee it. Anyway, Soul Nerf. This was needed. She has benefited a lot from the items that are in meta right now, and she needed to be toned down a bit. But yeah, solid nerfs. Bastet scaling tuned down. I had a problem with Bastet when she was reworked here. I did post a video about it about first looks that I didn't realize then, but I realize it now. That her base numbers and her scaling were just too high. Because Bastet was initially a scaling character. Which, when they reworked her the first time, the second edition of Bastet, they gave her too much base damage with her scaling. She was just doing an impossible amount of damage to people. So they had to take away her base numbers. Or, I mean, her scaling a bit. And tone down her base numbers. Then she sucked. They made a third version of Bastet, which nobody liked. So now they gave her too high base damage, and her scaling was too high. Now they're toning it down, which I appreciate a lot. And the cat is just a little bit better in terms of like its audio cues and clarity, but it's still nerfed because it's a very strong ability. All right, Odin. Needed nerfs. Both of these are solid. Don't know if it will kill Odin, but they were needed. Certainly needed. Basically giving everything a 1 longer second, making him slightly less effective. We'll see, though. He might still be super strong. Nike is kind of, not looking too hot. I despise Nike. Anybody who's been following me for a while, no. I despise Nike. And this is a solid nerf. And with all the changes to the reducing shields, this is going to hurt Nike and kind of put her back into a proper place. Geb shield. This is a solid nerf. Reducing the duration of the shield. You're going to feel this loss of time on the shield. And you're also going to feel the health on the shield being a lot lower. This is a good nerf because Geb's usefulness typically revolves around Stone Shield. In terms of in his support. When he's in solo, it's his damage numbers are too high most of the time. But this is a solid nerf, and it's going to bring Geb more in line with the rest of the support cast. Arachne, decreased cooldown. Solid buff. This character is still pretty bad. With the crit builds coming into meta, maybe she'll be better. But her team fighting ability is still horrendous. And that's her main problem. Her problem isn't her damage numbers and her build path. Well, there's a little bit of problems with it, but her team fighting is just absolutely atrocious. She relies on needing to 1v1 somebody, and sometimes she doesn't win those 1v1s, and other times she just straight up can't find them. Ever. So yeah, Amaterasu. Good change. This is a... Wait, what? Hang on. They switched these around by accident. That first one. To uncharged damage. Again, they're bringing her more in line with other warriors. I am a bit concerned, though. This might make her too strong. But we'll see. Definitely see. I'm definitely going to be playing her a lot just to see how well she performs with the new damage buffs. Jormungandr. This is a list of buffs. It's good. This character's good. This character's... I hesitate to say back, but I think he's back. Increased base movement speed is just nice. Self-slow and the decreased damage taken debuff from getting CC'd is huge for this character. And the increased slow on Venomous Haze is just a nice buff. And the damage. The tick damage is whatever, but the increased slow is really, really good. And Jormungandr's items are getting buffed. And this character's going to be good. I don't want to say he's going to be peak meta, but he's going to be a solid pick. Especially with all the adjustments to Void Stone and stuff like that. Like I said before, we're going to need to watch Celestial Legion Helm because it's potentially dangerous for this. Alright. Getting towards the end here, but Tyr, increased base damage. Did he need this? Probably not. Is it nice? Yeah. I'm a Tyr player. I like it. Increased base damage is nice. Not sure if he needed it, but whatever. Baba Yaga, increased damage. I don't know if she needed this per se, but she definitely needed the changes to Home Sweet Home. The self-root was something that's just kind of felt dated in Smite. A lot of ultimates used to have a self-root, like Zeus Ultimate, you used to have to root yourself to use it. It just felt like a relic of the past, and I'm glad that it's changed. And reduce the pre-fire time. She just goes up fast, or the house comes down faster, I should say. Good change. I'm not sure about the Baba's Brew change, but I mean, it's just the base damage. It's not the scaling. So her scaling, she's going to hit slightly harder. I don't think this is going to make her break out into the meta, but she's definitely going to be strong, and she's definitely actually going to contest in picks. Like, she might see more play in Pro League and ranked and stuff like that. Her damage is a bit more reliable in terms of Home Sweet Home. I'm pissed off about these changes. The Summer Stance change is okay. I mean, it's going to make him very hard to box when he already is. I hate this. Direct hits now require root and cripple instead of just a root. There is no reason for this. At all. Turnanos is in an okay spot. I get you want to change him a little bit with the Shifter of Seasons change, but there's zero reason to give this character a cripple. None. It makes him incredibly deadly to box in lane, especially for some of those for a lot of hunters, it's going to be very, very difficult to, one, get away from Cernos, where it already is difficult to get away from him, and two, actually be able to hold on to your beads to get away from him. He is going to become a menace in dual lane, if not the mid lane as well. Maybe even in the jungle, but you didn't hear that from me. This god is going to be a menace. Chernobog. 20% of Chernobog's basic attack power when it explodes. That's after you hit him 3 times. Okay. And this is just the travel time of the initial hit and increased range. Quality of life. Chernobog kind of needed this. Makes him a bit safer. And allows him to poke a bit further away. Puts him more in line with the other hunters. Boris. Realistically, this doesn't change much. Yeah, he's got a bit more damage on updraft. And a bit more gust damage, but whatever. Increased cleave damage really isn't going to matter that much either. This just kind of puts him up a bit better with the more aggressive warrior supports. Because when you pick a warrior support, you want to be aggressive and use your earlier damage, and this puts him more in line with characters like Gilgamesh, and I say warrior supports, and I'm saying Serket and Fenrir, but assassin supports and warrior supports serve a very similar role, and this brings him up more towards that role. Fits it better in. Chronos. I was confused here when I first read this. Decreased time per stack from 2 minutes to 1.5 minutes. So, is that 1 minute and 30 seconds? I would assume. And now, you have 125 power at 37.5 minutes. So 37 minutes and 30 seconds, I assume? And it's not 50, it's 30 minutes and 30 seconds. 37 minutes and 30 seconds. That's what I assume, at least. Shadow Lock, increased minion damage. Okay. Nox is still going to be... the problem with Nox isn't her damage numbers, really. It's how she applies her damage. Most of her damage comes from her combo, which is a utility spell. That is a utility combo. It is not a raw ult. It's not a raw beam. It's not Raijin damage. It's not Merlin abilities. It's a setup ability. Which is why Nox is kind of be in a more niche spot, I think. And why I think she's better in support than she is in... E-set buffs. Don't know why we're buffing her. She proved to be incredibly strong at the LAN. Not the LAN, the playoffs. She dominated. In fact, against Quig, she had to be banned multiple times because of how prominent he was on this pick. In support, mind you. These buffs directly help her in support, which I'm not entirely hating, because I kind of like the niche subclasses of certain characters. Like Nox and E-set both fill similar roles in their more supporty outlook. I don't hate it, but I don't like it either. I don't think she needed it. She's okay in support right now. This just makes her support a little bit better. And that's everything. Alright. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you can you learned something from this, and let's see if my predictions are correct. Peace.